So there's no recording now. So.
I talked to Dick yesterday, I told him.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll call to order this historic district meeting, February 29th at 6:05 PM. In attendance, everybody have to say their name at this point?
No, so some groups were doing it just to introduce people, and I think everyone knows each other except the person from Sunrun, that when we get to that.
Okay. Well, we should welcome
Yeah.
our newest member, Christina.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry. One thing you'll learn about me is that I won't remember anybody's name. I know Ruth, Dan, and Rick. Christina. All right. So we're all here. We all have a quorum. So do you want to go through the minutes?
Yeah, so I emailed out the minutes. We may have voted on some of these. I could not find records, and I decided to just send them again to make life easy. If people didn't have a chance to look at them, we could wait.
I looked at them.
Otherwise, I would make a motion to approve the minutes of 6/1/2021, 9/9/2021, 5/23/22, 11/21/23, and a huge thank you to Jane Lowell, who has been meticulously doing these minutes, because she's the best.
So.
Job she hates though.
Can I make a motion? I make a motion that we accept all of this. I can't remember the dates. What you like it to be.
And then is it all those in favor? Do I say?
Well, so I'll second,
I'll second.
and then we would call for a vote. So then you say all in favor.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
And
Right.
nobody remote, so we don't need to do a roll call vote.
You know, I'll never learn the.
Yes, you will, you did just fine.
Oh, no.
You did
What
just
have I
fine.
been doing this for 2 years?
Are you taking notes or do you want me to?
So I got it. I brought a notepad.
And then I think next would be the public hearing for 15 Main Street. I won't read that ridiculous hearing notice, but it was advertised, the letters were sent out. It is specific to replacing the windows at the house located at 15 Main Street. And then I believe Mr. Schofield is here as a representative.
In all my glory.
Let me just pull up the record.
I fell asleep on the couch, I almost didn't get one.
Oh, boy.
So I think that the request would be for a certificate of appropriateness to replace the windows, and I want to explain.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed. Can I speak?
Yeah, go.
I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I even though I was involved and I was selectman at the time and whatever, I don't know the exact process here, and apologies if it turns out that somehow we've gone awry. The point I'm at in this is I'm just researching the options. And I want to know what I can do and what I can't do, or what you'd like me to do or what you'd not like me to do.
Well, I think you had mentioned that that you looked into repairing, right? And
I
it was
did.
just so costly,
I did.
which I completely understand. And, but I think what we would like to see is, some sort of similar, setup where, and they make so many different
Yes.
types of products now that mimic that.
Well, can I tell you a little bit about what I've done so far and where
Sure.
we're at, and then
Go
you
for
can
it.
tell me what you think?
Go for it.
Okay, so the first, like you said, I did investigate, and I tell you, if I had the deep pockets enough, I would
Right.
just repair the windows that are there. But they'd be $1,200 a window to restore them, which is quite a bit of money. I can't quite afford. So that, multiply that by 19 windows and you're looking at, quite a bit of change, right? 24,000, I think that would be, right? So, the windows that are in there are 2/1, which is a style that first came out very late 1800s, early 1900s, and that building was built in 1890.
Mhm.
So they're almost certainly the original windows. Right?
Yeah.
Now, my brother and I, we did try to repair on our own some of them. And some of them we could probably get away with, but it just, the air is just flowing out of the place. I mean, the heat is just. And so what we'd like to do is, we've got a quote from Harvey, and they would be 2/1, just like what's there. All the trim would stay the same, they're inserts, right? So the outside trim would stay the same, the inside trim would stay the same, and all we do is put the inserts in.
Oh, so okay, yeah, so they're not true divided light.
No, I do know what you're talking about. It would be a fake piece of vertical sash on the second,
Okay.
in the inside between double panes.
I don't have, yeah, that's what mine have.
Yeah, and it would look
But it
like
looks-
what's there,
Right.
but it wouldn't be what's there.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so
Um,
that's what we're looking at.
and is it, so what is I'm trying to think, so the outside of the building is red, and then
Yes.
obviously we don't dictate color. Yeah, if you wanna put it up on the screen.
Well, I'll, at some point I will be painting the outside. I was hoping to get started this year, but it'll be roughly the same color, I think, some reddish.
And again, we don't dictate
Yeah.
color.
That's the house, right?
But you do know, just while we're on that topic, not that it matters for right now, but
Yeah.
you do know that Benjamin Moore makes a set of specifically
The historic.
New England historical
Yeah,
colors.
I know,
And I'll be picking a red from that color palette. to
Yeah.
make that.
yeah, I like their historical.
Yeah, I think they're really
colors.
nice,
They're
yeah.
good. Okay, so they're Harvey windows, and so are they siding wise, are you swapping siding?
No.
Like, are you, okay,
Now, the siding is asbestos shingles, but as long as we don't mess with them,
you're fine, you can
They're
paint,
fine.
they actually paint really.
they paint damn well. You're absolutely right. They take paint very well, they hold it.
Yeah.
And any replacements we do when we get to it will be cement replacement shingles that look the same, but they're cement.
So, do you wanna, what is the date on the building?
So
I
the
believe
date,
it's 1890, isn't it?
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, there's something under there, and so they
There's
weren't
something-
putting asbestos shingles on
Oh,
homes in
for sure.
1890.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying, so where you're saying you're gonna do like a hardy board, is that what you're saying when you go to replace it eventually? Like the hardy board, the cement?
Well, I'm not
No,
planning
you're not doing the
I'm not
Okay.
planning to replace the siding, no.
Okay.
But I will tell you though, whatever was under the siding, they must have pulled off.
Oh, okay, so
Because-
it's just the.
Yeah,
aesthetic
because on
okay.
Right, because on the inside, I know this doesn't specifically relate to the windows, but on the inside, we had to get behind the walls where the cabinets are.
Mhm.
And you can see that there's nothing.
Oh, it's straight to the.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, not even any insulation.
I do think related to the other conversation we need to have at some point, I think we should be clear that if there's any repair to the siding, and I think you just said this, it
Yeah.
would be done using a replica
Comparable.
material that matches, you're not gonna re-side the whole house with vinyl siding.
Well, and he's not
Very
gonna
few
reside, but to my point, he can't reside the house with asbestos, right? 'Cause
Right.
it's
Oh, yeah,
private.
that right.
So to my point,
So
we
what do you
have to
do?
go back and say, okay, what was
would
here in
be-
eighteen
right,
ninety, and do we, in a historic society, do we have any sort of, to kind of help guide you along that way, because what we want to avoid is you putting up vinyl siding down the road. when you're here.
You can be rest assured, there is not a
Okay.
chance in hell
Right.
I am gonna put vinyl siding on that building,
Okay,
or 5 Maple, or 1 Maple, no chance.
That's a good point. I'll make a note. That's something we should maybe define better in our design guidelines in the future about what to do in this situation, more than just,
Why'd you let him do it at 26 Maple?
So there was a communication breakdown and the contractor went and did way more than they said they were gonna do, and
Again, I know we're getting off topic, but there's no one that knows more about that house than me.
okay,
And I'm telling you now that I wanted to sit with those people when they first bought it, to make sure they knew the historical nature of that house so that they would appreciate it,
so
and I never got a chance.
as far as I understand, the sides were all vinyl already, and the front was
The
not.
two ends were vinyl.
And they told us they were doing a
The front and
repair,
back were
and then
not.
somehow repair became a complete re-side of the whole
Yeah,
house.
To me, that because it's in the district, anyone within the district should have to come here with anything they do.
You can see it from the street.
And they didn't.
Well, I think, and that's what again, to go way off topic, I think that's what I think I would say going forwards. Swapping our roof it's clean, it's simple, anything beyond that needs to come to this commission, they need to wait for a meeting.
Right, but what do we do about that one, because that's gonna open up a whole can of worms.
Well,
that's
now
why I
it's for
think
sale now.
We need to
They
get
put it
John.
on the.
If- I know, but someone said to me, then we can decide ours.
Right.
Uh,
And again, that's, and I don't know where the building department was on that, like when they, cause they.
So there was a permit, he came through and he lied to us, I think, he said he was doing a repair and then, or maybe he opened it up and it was worse than he thought, but. You know, he was explicitly told a small repair using the same material was okay. It's
The
not-
shape- the
But
shape
my
was-
question is, if they're within the historical district and they're doing any work, they should have to come before our board. Otherwise, what's the point of our board? Here it is, the oldest house, and it's right in the center of the district, and he signs it
Right,
and gets away with it.
well, I think that's gonna be a different, we gotta figure out how we wanna deal with it and what our options are at this point.
At the time that building was built, the front of it would have been Riven clapboard, and the other three sides would have been shingles. And that's what it should
Back
be.
in front were, back in,
No, when he recited it, the three sides were vinyl.
oh, Rusty said no.
Oh, they were, I was there.
Said the two sides were vinyl, the two ends, but he said back and front were not.
Oh, that might be, the back might not have been, that's true,
I
that's
checked with
possible,
Rusty.
yeah.
So I'll try and divert this back to 15 Main and for now, and then we can kind of jump.
Oh, you don't have
into
to
that.
try to do that,
Yeah.
you're the boss, do it.
So it sounds like you have a quote for the Harveys
I do, yeah.
and it's with the inserts and, you know, I personally haven't seen those specific Harvey replacements. I know that Anderson, and I don't know if that's again, but I know Anderson does the Woodwright, models. And I'd be curious to see what the difference in prices, because they do the true divided lights with the
The
Woodwright.
problem with that is though, that then I'd have to replace or mess around with the trim. See, if I do
Okay.
it this way,
Now it's just the
Ins-
window replacements and not, you're not.
That's
going in and gutting,
Right.
okay.
so it's a 6 of one, half dozen of the other, you know what I
It's like
mean?
Beth and Dave just did, they just did this, they didn't have to do the trim.
Yeah, I wanted the trim on the
That-
outside to stay
And
the
I was just
same.
curious to see, okay, so that makes sense. All right,
You know that my wife and I are on the
yeah,
historical society.
I do, so I'm not, you know, I know you guys are gonna do right by the house, so
All right,
I was just curious about that, but.
and I'm
And
happy
that-
to take
and
ideas
that
from
makes-
anywhere, for sure.
and that- Makes sense, obviously not wanting to go in and pull everything apart just to go with them, so.
Well, but it's less that and more that it allows us to leave that part of the house the way it is.
Right, right,
So the front door, my brother wanted to replace the front door, and I said, no, you're not doing that.
right.
And we actually repaired the thing, and you wouldn't believe the repair he did, it was unbelievable.
Right,
So believe me, if we cannot replace something, we don't.
okay, great. Yeah, I know that I'm, you know,
So I think then if nobody else has anything, we could close the hearing and then vote on issuing a certificate.
Yeah.
We didn't really formally vote to open or close the hearing, I don't know if we need to dispense with some of the excessive bureaucracy, but I think,
I'll let you guys help me with this.
well, I think I would just make a motion then to issue a certificate of appropriateness.
Well, you gotta close the hearing before you do
Yeah,
that.
well, I guess, yeah, so
So
we'll
it's
move to close the hearing.
All right,
So if somebody wants to second that,
I'll second that.
and then we have to vote on that.
all those in favor?
Aye. And then,
Dan moved, I have to write this, right? Dan moved to close
yeah,
hearing.
and we can,
I really should have brought my laptop, it's a lot faster to type.
it is,
Um,
but
Oh,
it'll
great.
be, you'll have to, it'll be full of
All
interestingness.
right, and then, what are we on to?
So I would make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to replace the windows as discussed with inserts that match the 201 style, all the trim to remain, and then maybe just specify that, you know, any repairs to the siding need to be of, as you said, a cement board or material that is a replica of what is there.
Yeah.
Just in
I
case.
mean, I can't legally put asbestos black in.
Right, no, just so it's in the point is, if we don't specify now, you might have to come back for another certificate.
Yeah, I don't want to
call
call
it,
it, that's fine, yeah.
Yep, so as long as
So as I
we're
mentioned,
clear on that.
I think those would be the conditions on this one.
And listen, I'm happy for, yeah, believe me, I'm happy to play open cards and transparent if you want. I'm more than happy to, get either a picture or drawing of the replacement window so you can take a look at them. So this, just in case there's any gotchas and you look at it and you say, wait a minute, that's not what I was expecting.
I think it'd be good if you could submit, and we can upload that as part of this record.
I'm happy to do that.
My only thing, again, I'm obviously in favor of it, my only thing is down the road, if like, say sold a house. And that 2/1, so the 2 is removable. So then, do we care? Because someone's gonna remove it. Someone who's gonna say, I don't like that, and then there's.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
That you can pump out the divided light.
No, you
I don't
can't.
think so, the dividers are between the glass.
Yeah, they're in, you
Oh,
can't take them out.
I thought you were saying you were gonna do the pop out.
No.
No, I'm sorry, I misspoke
Dividers
that.
between the glass and the hard.
Exactly, it's
Oh,
just.
so you're getting the easy to clean divider.
Yes, it's got the false edge vertically in the middle.
Great, that's.
Okay, but also I should say that we would be willing to, and I think my wife's gonna make me anyway, save all the windows when we take them out, on the off chance that we ever really wanna put them back in again. Or somebody else wants to put them back in again, and spend the money on it, you know, so we probably will save it.
All right, so. Motion to issue certificate of appropriateness, we already did
Yeah, I'll
that.
have to type this up and put it formally in the document, but, so
Um,
the windows 2/1, match the original, all trim and stay the same, blah, blah, blah. I'll verify with you the specific wording, but.
Dan, did you have the property card in front of you there? Were you looking at it just now? Because I know one of my buildings is 1850 and one's 1890.
Name,
And I have a reason for asking that, that I'll explain when you tell me the date.
15 Main Street is listed as 1890.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay. So then they'll be the original windows, because that's about the time the 2/1s came out.
So then if someone wants to second that,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
So are we gonna be able to have a quick discussion about the sign?
So that was on the agenda, I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, because there's somebody, we get both of them. So I think, yeah, so there's a request that came through, actually, it's good that you're here, because you're technically the building owner.
Yeah.
Could you hit what the?
Yeah, I will, I emailed out what they're trying to do.
It's like a yellow.
The question I have before we talk about, I mean, my concern is setting precedent in terms of what we can and can't do under the bylaw. So generally, any change to the exterior architectural feature that does not meet an exemption needs a public hearing. It does say that a public hearing need not be held if the hearing is waived in writing by all persons entitled to notice thereof, which I believe would be that entire 100-foot abutters. Or it may be waived by the commission if the commission determines that the exterior architectural feature involved or its category or color, as the case may be, is so insubstantial in its effect on the district that it may be reviewed by the commission without a hearing. And if we do that, we have to send a letter to everybody and give them 10 days notice, which we've done in the past for things like, I'm trying to think of the ones like mini splits, where there wasn't really any option, or
Right.
real small inconsequential things. So
Okay,
that's
so,
the question is, does this sign, do you feel that sign meets this definition or if it needs a
What
hearing?
kind of sign is it?
let me tell you about that. Do you have a picture of it?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what she did and what we did to determine what to put up there is I have pictures of that building. I have a series of 22 of them dating all the way back to
What's the
1890.
address?
1 Maple. Okay, dating back to 1890. And so I know exactly what the signs look like, Brown and Steer, Shattuck, Dan's Variety. I mean, all the different signs that were on that building all have a very similar look and feel to them. And Emily basically copied that. Her corners are a little rounder than maybe some of the others, but it would sit in the same place. There it is right there. That's just how all the others sat. I mean, it would look
Right.
completely consistent to historically how it's been.
So I don't see why we complain about that.
My only question, and maybe I haven't fully made up my own mind, is I just would be afraid of setting any sort of precedent that if someone else comes to it, we can't, to be clear, we can't rule on the content of the sign. What the sign says is irrelevant. It's just what it looks like. I just don't, want to set the precedent that or maybe we do, that we don't care as long as the sign matches what was there. I don't know.
And so just so you know, her plan was to open on the 11th of April, and she's got a lead time on this thing. And she's afraid, she's very afraid you're gonna come back and say there's something she can't do here, and then she'll have wasted $4,000 on a sign.
Here, Rich.
So she already purchased.
Yeah, there you go, there's an excellent example, there you
Yeah,
go.
right, and that was even bigger.
That was bigger, and like I say, the corners are very sharp as opposed to hers, but for the most part, they all looked about like that.
To me, it's in keeping with the building and the way the building is looking.
And where the signs have gone, yeah.
So I don't see what the.
Shared a different picture. Just a different image. Face on the building.
So yeah, so they have the hard square edges.
I mean, that's.
Yeah, that's the big difference, that's the only difference, really.
Where's Danny's variety? You don't have a picture of Danny's
No, I
variety?
do, I don't know where his comes from.
These are old, that's all I have.
I'm teasing.
No, but I have these, yeah.
I have these from Kathy, I don't have Jane's variety,
Um,
I'd be interested.
Someday I might be coming to you asking me for me to put a decorative, old style pre-visible gas pump in front there, which used to be there.
I mean, I'm not opposed, my only concern would be around any sort of precedent, and I appreciate her concern, but we have this bylaw, she's a business owner like anybody else.
yeah, she,
Nothing personal, but everybody's gotta do their due diligence.
yeah, you can't purchase something before getting approvals, that's for sure.
I think we would, if we were to hold a hearing, it's a minimum of 2 weeks, and we're looking at mid-March. Or if we feel that this meets that definition of, what did I say, insubstantial in its effect on the district, I mean.
Because it's more or less a replacement
It's
of
a
what was
replica
there in
of
the
what was there.
past, aside from the corners, which.
Yeah.
I mean,
I could be
that's
convinced.
inconsequential, I feel like, but,
I don't know.
what are your thoughts, Ruth?
I approve it.
It's the only difference is the corners,
Yeah.
like that's a tough to be really nitpicky about.
And we can't have anything to say about color in
Can't regulate,
respect to signage though, how do we
Well,
have that?
it's kind of vague, we can't regulate the color of paint generally. I think there's potentially,
Although she did try to pick a color that was dark and consistent with the previous signs.
I think that they're ones that would stay with them again.
I think someone could make the argument that us being particular about the color of the sign might cross the line to a
Yeah.
First Amendment violation, because that is part of the message of the sign.
Yeah.
So I think.
I don't think anything's serious.
No, but
No,
just
I don't
thinking through the whole
have anything.
situation,
I
I think
don't-
that's a dangerous road to go
Yeah, no.
down, so I wouldn't even rule on
So
that.
basically, I'm saying,
I mean, I'm okay with it, I guess, I just wanna make sure we're all on the same page, which it sounds like we
You know,
are.
if she was doing a different sign or putting it in a different place or making
It's not-
something, I mean, then, but.
It's not gonna light up, it's not gonna be moving wavy, wacky, wavy, inflatable, flaring arm man
it's
thing.
not gonna be as bright as a Mendon Police Department sign, so.
Now, while we're on the sign, while we're on the sign
There's no
topic,
light pollution happening here.
while we're on the sign topic, we do have the historical Aldrich store sign, the, you know how they get all the historical signs on all the buildings, say what year and what the name of the house was. So we have the Aldrich store sign. Do we have to do something special to put that up?
So those are, you're talking about the circus
Like a
signs?
plaque.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the plaques like all the other historic district. I can just put it up.
Plaque, yeah.
Okay.
I know.
I wonder if, not this, in general, we should be holding a hearing to do a blanket approval for those circuit signs.
Oh, like-
They all, well, it was a pre-existing sign, it's pre-district, so I.
Yeah, but, well, not for me anyway. it's never been up.
But it
Oh,
was
so you
issued.
had one
But
created.
It's been sitting in the back room and David never put it up before.
Oh.
Right, but it came, it's like all the other signs.
It's exactly the same as all the other
So that's
signs.
a problem.
No, I just, we should think about that, I think
Yeah.
that's that.
So.
It's this trouble.
So I think, so I would make a
Yeah.
motion then to approve this under that.
Excuse me, folks, I don't want to interrupt your meeting, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Keep it down in here, we're not gonna have a meeting over here, you know?
Close the blinds.
Yeah, you do that.
You know he's talking to me, don't
Could be.
I'll make a motion then that we find this proposal satisfies this 741, and that it's well, you can type this later, the thing described is insubstantial on district, and therefore we can waive the hearing. We are gonna need to, I do this tomorrow, we'll need to send a letter to those abutters and give them 10 days to respond. So if somebody does come back, we will need to have a full hearing, but I don't think anybody would.
Okay, that's fair enough, that's absolutely fair enough.
That's in the bylaw.
So,
You're the above,
Alright.
both sides. You're kind of the above.
Yeah.
well, that's true, but then you have, the people across the street, I guess.
All those in favor?
They're given. Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
So now I may have made a mistake here while we're on the, if I can bring up one more thing, if it's okay. And you can tell me whether I should have filed something, but I assumed I didn't. But right across the street from, okay, so you get the big red building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to the left of that, there's that one house that we also own. Right across the street from there, the federal government has a 6-foot easement for post office boxes. They will not deliver, the post office will not deliver on that other side, the odd side, only on the even side. So to give my tenants a mailbox, I had to put mailboxes in that one spot. There were 3 that are already going like this.
I know, they look, the
Directions.
ones you put up look nice.
Okay, so you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about? And we just put them up and made them look nice, and I didn't think there was any need to come. It didn't even dawn on me to come.
So funny you mentioned that, and so I have a draft document that I'm typing like footnotes of things, and one of the things says temporary, it says mailboxes. Because I think we talked before, I think that's something we need to address, but I'm not sure it's something we can regulate. Because like you said, it's an easement, it's a mandatory,
Actually, isn't it the postal department that has to?
Yeah. like maybe we should have some
Where they
generic
go
guidance.
Like
Yeah.
guidance for mailboxes, but we can't really.
Yeah,
Like,
well, but that's true, but see, there's obviously all kinds of different ways you could have done it. Now, of course, my thought process in doing it is making it look like it belongs in a historic area. I left it, we didn't go overly ornate in the posts, we didn't leave wooden and PT, because it wouldn't have been around then. So we used the white sleeves to make it look like something white and old. But all I'm saying is, I apologize if we should have come first. I didn't even think of it. And
Yeah.
in the future, do I need to if it's something like that?
I think it's something that we should include in the next round when we review the design guidelines and think
Is to
about
address whether yes or
how
no.
that should be handled.
Yeah.
Because it's not like we can tell you no. But
No, but you would
we
say
at least
how.
say we want it to look a certain way.
That's right, that's
I think we
exactly,
need to
that's
address that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
Box.
yeah, separate things that we need to.
Yeah, I honestly haven't even noticed, so.
So in order to amend the design guidelines, we have to send a letter to everybody and hold a public hearing, so it's a big process. But I do think
So we have
probably
to just,
every
like,
couple of years, we should be looking.
Gather all of our notes for the
Yeah.
thoughts on amendments and put it together at once.
okay, I will not delay your meeting any further, that's all I got. Thank you very much for your time. Are you all set with me now?
You don't wanna
Yeah.
hang out?
Huh?
You said you don't wanna hang out?
I think my dogs will be upset that they don't get their dinner.
When you're on the board?
This boy here?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love, I think that'd be fun, but, because I obviously know a lot about the way the stuff used to look, you know.
I think about it.
I would have made those people put right.
Unfortunately,
I think they should, I think they still should.
I gotta tell you, that's what I would have done.
Well, I think they still should, because they didn't come before the board, and it opens up, it sets a precedent.
You know, that house used to be right next to Rockland Trust, where the big white building is.
Yeah.
And they moved it, Seth Hastings moved it on logs down there, and when it was up there 3 times, they had the town meeting in there, because it was too cold in the town meeting house. So they moved it
One
into
of the
there.
oldest houses, as I say, and it's.
Oh, yeah. It used to be the Keith Inn. Anyway,
Well,
okay,
One
so,
more project for,
alright,
that somebody's in attendance for.
so,
A permit came through for 31 Washington Street with a request.
I'm gonna excuse myself.
Okay, yeah.
Ground,
Yes, I will consider being on, but when my time freezes.
and I think,
I'll let you know what I'm doing.
Okay.
bye.
Very nice to meet you finally, Deb.
Yeah, I know.
this is the same, kind of a similar issue, so, you know, theoretically, we would schedule a hearing. I do think there's some question if we feel that this too might meet this exemption. One of the deals we learned with solar is, so we can't really unreasonably restrict solar.
Now, what are you talking about, the solar farm now was?
No, I'll show you
It's
pictures.
a couple of ground mount panels
I think they're.
But do we know that? I mean, I'd like
Yes.
to get them in here and talk to
Well,
them.
she's
They're right up
on the
here,
call,
she's
yeah.
on here,
Oh, they are.
and they're ground mount panels, they sent us the
Okay.
plan.
Sorry, I didn't know
I'm
they were
trying,
there.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I mean,
31 Washington Street, it's the recently sold
Yes.
home.
I'm trying to find the plans, but it's not cooperating here.
It was right in the email, yeah.
Excuse us for a second. Can we borrow Dan for 1 minute?
Yeah,
We can't tell if we're broadcasting or not on our meeting.
Hang on. You don't have a quorum without me, that's the problem here. Give me 1 second.
30 seconds just to hit.
I can try and sit there and see if I can.
Well,
They
I
want us-
don't, I can't dial it up, so.
They want us to make all meetings remote, but they didn't teach the volunteer board members how to do that.
Hi Greta, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, good. We're just having a couple technical difficulties in the room next door. So, you know, I see that you guys are looking to put in, some ground mount panels. Is it 1 or 2 behind 31 Washington? The resident.
It would only be one ground mount, with a total of 28 panels.
Okay. All right, so just one ground mount. What is the dimensions on that?
So they would do landscape orientation. I think
Okay.
each solar panel is 74 inches long times 7 across, is going to be how long it's going to be. They don't typically go over 10 feet. They're typically between 7 to 8 feet high because they're at an angle of 35 degrees, so it hits the sun azimuth.
So it,
Yeah, no, I think there's plans, I'm gonna try and find them. Yeah.
okay, so 74 inches, and how many panels did you say on that mount?
It'd be 28, so it'd be 4 rows of 7.
Okay,
That's a good size.
that's a gigantic panel.
Yeah, that is.
Is that, am I doing my math right? So you're saying each panel is 74 inches wide and there's going to be 27 of them?
No, there would only be 7 across.
Oh,
It'd be like 500 and, I don't know, divide that by 12.
12.
It'd be like
Yeah.
43 feet. A little over
40
43 feet.
Okay, so a 43-foot ground panel.
See, I mean, they have the.
And that's just, okay, so that's a ground mount, 43 foot. And then, we're just gonna pull up the plans here just so the room can see them.
Sure.
Is it still gonna be used as a farm?
Is that area of the property still going to be farmed? I mean, how is these questions might seem off a bit, it's just that the property's in the historic district, so we
This
just
is all I got.
have to kind of.
I mean, I think sorry, go ahead.
I'm not sure if it's going to still be farmed. I mean, if we are putting a solar there, then they obviously wouldn't be able to farm around that area.
7 by 4 units.
So what would they be using it for?
Well, I would imagine,
So it's
so
in the historic district, that's.
what do you?
It's ground mounted panels to supply the house that they're gonna continue to occupy as a house.
So they don't wanna put the panels on the house, huh? On the rear of the house because the sun's not there?
Right, and the roof structure, how the roof is actually kind of built on this house doesn't actually, you're not able to get that many panels for them to offset their utility bill enough. So ground mount
Okay.
would be the way to go because of the angles and the different dips and valleys and hips that they have on the roof.
Yeah.
It's just not viable to put many panels on there, and they'd be, you'd probably only be able to fit a couple on each roof area of that
Yes.
house, of how it's angled.
So if you pull up a little bit, Dan, you can see, so it looks like right here is where you're gonna have a big over 40-foot panel right
Yeah. I
there.
mean, I think really the question for this meeting is this
it
big enough of a
visible?
thing that we need, no, is this a big enough of a project that we should hold a formal hearing? Or do we feel that because of where this is being done and how it's being done, it's insubstantial like the previous one? I think, because if it needs a hearing, we should save all this and have a full hearing in a
I
month.
think we should.
I
I
mean, it's hard. 'Cause-
it's it is hard, but at the same time, are we setting a precedent in the historic district that says you can just put a 43-foot panel behind your house and now everybody's gonna wanna do that, right? And so here's the thing, it's 43 feet. If you told me that it was a 12-foot panel, you know what I mean? No one's gonna see that, but it's 43 feet. That's the length of a full-size roof structure. So for me, I drive up and down that street every day. For me to sit here and say, I don't see that coming one way or the other way, that's not the truth, right? I'm gonna see it. So in this district, it's, you know, is it visible from the street? And so yes, the answer is yes. So should we hold a formal hearing? My opinion is yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think in the past, we have allowed
I'm all for solar.
some rooftop solar,
yeah.
but the times we've done it, it's been on the rear of the roof facing away from the street and generally not visible.
So, right, and if you research what a lot of the other districts are doing, they're having the solar on the rear side of the roof, so it's not visible. So, and in this case, it's a ground mount panel, so it's just a different, it's different, right?
Yeah, we haven't talked about, I don't think we've had any ground mount requests.
No.
So I think if that's the case, then maybe if we wanna just find a hearing date.
Yeah.
We can do for the next meeting anyway.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know how much of a burden it is. It would be helpful if there was a way to get some sort of an indication of what it would look like from the street.
Yeah.
Like, I don't wanna go
But I think
crazy
some of
with
the neighbors might
drawings,
like to
but
have a hearing.
at least
Yeah,
to
we're
get a
gonna
feel
have
for
some.
what is or isn't visible, you know, versus what's behind the house might be helpful. I know there was a picture, there was photographs with like, here I found it with like an arrow on it. Let me share this one.
Yeah, so it looks like there's like a little shed or a little thing right there at the edge of their grass and right before where the farming is. So there's like a couple like small like little structures there that would kind of hide it, as it is not going to be like flat on as horizontal to the road. It's kind of put at an angle to kind of face the sun, so it's kind of diagonal. It's
Okay.
not going to be like, it's more,
Yeah.
you know, it's got a little bit of a diagonal to it.
And they had been working at this, so I just wondered what they want.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I believe there potentially is enough frontage to, I don't know if there's possibility of future subdividing this lot or something, but that's,
So
I mean, there's some plantings, but I think you can't have too many plantings because then solar doesn't work.
is this solar panel strictly for residential purposes, or is the amount of solar that's fed through this gonna feed something else? And I don't know if that's meant, but.
Just a
We only
question.
do residential solar, so this is strictly only to offset their utility bill.
Okay,
And save them money on utility by going with the ground mount.
that's
This
fine.
is- So this
The
is
only reason why
size
I
for the
asked-
house look.
The only reason why I
Yeah.
ask is because it was so many panels. Okay,
Good question.
all right.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could make it a little easier, but, you know, we would be doing a disservice to, you know, everybody else in the district and the abutters by not requesting a formal hearing on this, Greta.
Yeah,
So,
100% agree, you know.
yeah, so I think that I'm gonna, motion.
Well, I don't think we need to vote, I think
Yeah,
it was
you
just a discussion, and
All
I
right.
think if we, before we, because I only have a few minutes left, but if we can think about a meeting date now,
Sure,
so I have a ton of stuff going on in the next couple of weeks. I mean, at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, we have to push it at least to 17, 18, the end of March.
is that why, yeah.
I mean, water, so,
Is there anything particular when we go to formal meeting that I would need to provide just to help explain? Is there, you know, do we get anything in regards to any type of
I know,
bushes or like, you know, arborvitae's in front of it, maybe to kind of block the view, kind of added into this type of work too? I know sometimes that kind of helps if we have some vegetation in front of it that kind of hides it too.
see like a more detailed, I know it's just an inset of these plans, like to show more, like a bigger view of where exactly on the property it's gonna be located. But maybe, you already did it, but maybe just like a zoomed in, but I guess that's up to you, and you know, if there's potential ways to screen it from the road, ideally in a way that
I mean,
is more
our
historic,
arborvitae's is not
but- yeah.
like to just put a because here's the thing, right? This is it's a beautiful historic farm, so if you're gonna put like a plot of arborvitae in front of a 48-foot panel, then I think that's gonna be confusing too, like it's not
Yeah, true.
coherent with the district. But yeah, I mean, if, I would say like what Dan said, if you could, maybe like
Could they
some
be,
sort of depiction, like street view depiction from one end to the other end, maybe.
could they be located, again, I assume this was looked at, but could they be located somewhere else on the property further back without precluding other uses or being
Right.
shaded by those barns?
Right.
That might be at least good to
A
know
thought,
if that was
yeah.
looked at.
The only thing that you run into that is how long we have to dig a trench for the electrical conduit, and that gets a little bit pricey for the customer when you do have to do that trench. Right now, the trench, I think, to be dug is 129 feet already away from the house. Getting too far out is just going to make it a little bit more costly on the homeowner's end.
Right, right.
Is this their building too?
Which
Oh,
one?
it's like a, never mind, it looks like a.
And so the solar panels, how many panels, because I know, I've met with solar before and stuff, and so they kind of go through a couple different scenarios. How many panels could you have fit on the roof of the house versus the ground mount?
I'm not a designer. I can't really
Oh,
answer that question.
I didn't know if you gave them a couple different scenarios. It's okay.
Yeah,
was
I
just-
don't think I have that information in front of me.
But I think that, just that might be something that comes up as a question at the hearing.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that, if you could give us a couple different views and then, talk about, the rear side of the roof and whatnot, and what was feasible there versus the ground mount would be helpful.
Okay.
All right.
All right. And then you guys will let us know when when that will happen.
Yeah, I
When the
think
next
let's
formal meeting would be.
ideally pick a date.
If we could hammer that out right now while you're on,
For
assuming,
me, I'm looking at I think March 18th might be the earliest we could, or the 28th. I have a placeholder on the 25th for the Historic Commission, but I think this very likely, we'll need to have we probably want at least an hour for this. And then if we need to, if we want to try and set a meeting on the property.
March 18th is fine for me, right?
Let's talk about it.
Let me just double check.
I hate to push it out any longer, because I'm sure these homeowners want.
12, 13, 14, well, so even March 18th, we have to get those letters in the mail on Monday. 6, 8, 9, 10,
so many
12,
days.
13, 14,
You
even
should be
that's
able to do that.
tight.
Will you be able to hold it without
That's the
me
end of ours.
on the 18th?
No. Well,
Can't
so
do it.
the problem we're running into, we don't have a quorum without, we need 4.
Yeah.
There is Jane, who maybe, will be back.
Okay,
Yeah, I hate to push it out and like you said,
No, no.
I just have night class and like.
Well, then
Always on Monday.
what was the other date you said, March 28th?
And March 28th is a possibility, March
Can you do
26th.
This is
Yeah,
Thursday.
Thursdays are great. It's just Monday and Wednesday nights.
Um,
Okay,
I think we have another meeting on the
Tuesday
19th
night is-
already.
Really good, I could do it.
There's a meeting at 7 on Tuesday, so we could do it earlier, but like I said, I'm gonna have to leave.
why don't we just do the March 28th
works.
and the ground, I don't imagine.
And then you have to rush
Location.
for others too.
Yeah, right.
Location to be determined,
All right,
hopefully this room, but
so how does, March 28th, Thursday, March 28th sound for you, Greta?
That works.
All right,
That works.
we're gonna try for that at 6,
I would, at that point, I would say unless 6 is better, I would do 7, but.
7,
Well, I was gonna say, if you have a hearing,
7,
7
then
might be a
the
little
hearing.
better.
All right, easier for people.
Residents might
Okay,
wish to attend.
let's do 7 on March 28th.
Location to be determined, we may have to go to the library, I will find out who's in this building.
Okay,
It's
so you can go
Concom,
next door, right?
yeah, well, it's Concom and potentially ZBA on that Thursdays.
Okay.
At the police station.
Yeah, well, yeah, that, if it's open, because I think FinCom, what's the night Thursday, FinCom is on. But I don't know who meets when.
All right.
That would be better.
That's where it's an upstairs, and you've got
Yeah,
that's three options.
right. But like a ZBA has a huge hearing, we're gonna need to not be on there won't be parking. But I think they're good. I think they got through their stuff.
All right, so we'll see, or, we'll see you on Zoom, I guess, on, March 28th at 7 PM.
Thank you so much. Hope you have a great night.
All right, you too.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I'll push that one line. I think, the representative of the company.
Of the solar company?
Yeah.
My thing is.
Are we already?
This is still.
Yeah, never mind.
recorded.
I'm on,
I think,
but yeah,
you made a really good point, so I put that a note in the design about, because that was one of the things we really struggled with about solar, but I think that's a really valid restriction to say it needs to be sized for the structure, not a big production facility that's double your use.
well, and
I think my concern is too, that, I mean, they've been proving that, we end up there and everything.
I believe there is a plan to potentially subdivide that lot, and I don't know if they have the frontage. Person who purchases a contractor,
a 43-foot ground mount,
so.
There's no way
It's
to
large.
see that from the street.
yeah, so and again, I'm all for solar.
They're doing a lot of work in the back end.
And so-
One of the neighbors has told me that, and she's a little concerned.
So, and, I was reading about different districts and how they handle solar, and like Cape Cod has huge historic districts and everything, just certain areas down there, and they're all just having to put them on the back of the roof, and that's that.
Yeah.
And that's that. So,
I mean, that,
and it's not, they're not restricting it, they're just saying it just needs to go on the back of the roof.
Because what about if it was up here in the center of town, and they wanted to put one of those, I mean, how would we feel? I don't know.
Well, right, but I think the permit wise through the town, I don't think.
I'll read
I think
the
it's because they have
bylaws.
enough land that they probably are.
I don't know
able to do
enough
that.
about it, I wanna read the zoning.
I think you need a
bylaws.
specific amount of
Yeah.
land to be able to do a ground mount like that.
That's,
So we'll move on, let's see, so we touched on that, non-applicability.
so I put this on the agenda, again, I don't know if we formally voted on it, and I just wanted to close the loop on it. Jane had submitted a request a while ago for a certificate of non-applicability,
Mhm.
and I think it was all painting or repairs to the siding. I think it's this one, painting barn and large shed, it's all repair, but she wants everything in writing because she's doing it right.
Who is this?
Jane Moll,
Jane.
40 Willow
Okay, yeah.
Street, and I don't know if we voted on it or it was back in
I
the
thought that
midst
we-
of
I thought
everything.
that we just
I thought we did that.
did that,
It's just open to the system, so if we did, I'll close it out.
yeah,
Yeah, I think we
definitely did
Um,
that,
That was a while ago.
Yeah,
cause it
well,
was
she's done a
just,
couple.
okay, so maybe, I mean, if you wanna say it again, then I'm happy to say it again, but.
Just if you can come and formally request a certificate of non-applicability that says what you're doing is exempt, which someone might wanna do to have.
It was just like a little bit of a repair and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen enough to know that
Yeah,
they will never dare to do anything to any of those properties that isn't 1,000% historic.
I know,
They even painted it that like bright
I mean,
orange historic color.
Jane of all people.
Yeah,
but right, but I think for the sake of the district,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you wanna touch on it really quickly,
well, I think the only thing is just if we're okay issuing a certificate of non-applicability, it was specifically for, hang on, I closed it now.
Do you wanna just motion it and then, just so we have. it
Painting
again?
barn and large shed, repairing, replicating areas which are rotted, which repair is an exempt.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion to approve that.
All those in favor?
I,
And that's where they damaged the wire in that story that Rich was telling about the intervening there.
oh yeah, that was quite a while ago, yeah, that was. Was the building inspector invited to come to this meeting?
No, we have to
I
connect with
thought you were
him.
going to.
I mentioned it, but I've been swamped with parks interviews. So I think it would be wise.
To take the burden off you, couldn't someone else on this board do some of those things?
Yeah, if you want to reach out to him, I think there's two issues. I think going forwards, I would think anything that's beyond a replacement of a roof should come to this commission, at least for initial review, because it's clear that there's enough gray area that it's very easy for these things to get screwed up. Whether intentionally or accidentally, I think, someone who wants to replace a roof with a matching roof that's the same color, just shingles on shingles, the problem is that they're not gonna wanna wait a month when the roof is leaking.
That's right.
But beyond that, even if it's fairly obviously an exception, they
It's
should come
just
to
like,
us.
I don't even know, like, they just went and did it. And I don't even,
That's what I mean, and
and
it
so like,
seems
what
like
is the repercussion here?
There should be-
Do we tell them that, you know, they have to take it all, you know,
Well,
I don't know, I don't, you know,
I wanted to satisfy the other people in the area,
maybe.
because
unfortunately,
I've already had someone say to me, well, that's good, then, if that's the case, then I can sign mine.
Yeah, and I don't like that, you know, so,
the problem we're gonna run into, I just to play the devil's advocate, there are mechanisms to enforce fines, to enforce compliance, whether we will be supported from the top in enacting that. You know, like, I don't know what is the realistic resolution here? Are
We
we,
won't know until we do it.
do we
But I
want
mean,
to?
what's
Yeah.
to me, what is the point of having a board and having
if
policies?
we can't enforce
If we
anything,
can't, yeah, if we don't enforce it.
yeah.
I mean, if that's the case, then don't have a historical district and don't, you know, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other, but
They,
We're going to.
they went
Did you
through
say
and
it's for
then,
sale?
it is for sale, it just went up, I
Yes.
actually had a couple agents going.
But
but even if
It's
it's for
just-
sale, I
it's
mean,
open.
we could.
You can't even get into the basement, they had it locked.
The fellow that did it should have to remove
Yeah.
that, right?
Well, so I think, we need to send them a letter and have them come to a meeting and,
And I also think that we should ask the building inspector, because where was he when all this came up?
I mean.
Well, so the
you know what,
problem-
I'll just shoot John Erickson a message in the morning, I thought maybe he would be here, but
well, I didn't invite him because I don't have time.
I get that.
So John, the problem we're gonna run into, and I know what John's gonna say, as far as he was aware, this was approved because the applicant specifically said
he was replacing it.
he was, hang on, let me read exactly what his wording was. We want to replace the siding because it's damaged, we would be using the same material that is there, we wanna make sure it's fine. And then we said, as long as they repair using the same materials,
And then we said that,
he went
and they
and
didn't.
decided the whole thing,
Right,
the front.
right.
I do think also another design
Do I just
issue,
like screenshot that and email it to me, and then I'll just shoot
Yeah.
it to John in an email too? Just be
You
like,
know, I think, Dan, I mean, you really are overburdened, I think,
yeah,
you know, as a board, we could do some of those things, so I mean,
but I
if you
think,
say, you know, I have.
cause I don't even know how to.
well, so just let me
access
finish my
that.
thought. I think we also need to better define what truly is a repair. If you're fixing a 2 square foot hole, that's one thing. But when repair is the entirety of the siding, that's not repair anymore.
You know, personally, I think that anyone within the historic district, if they're doing anything to the outside of the house, they should have to come before this board regardless.
Yeah. My only counter to that
Anything major like that.
is we need to define that because, and it's happened with roofing, where the homeowner is screaming on the phone because the roof is leaking and I wanna fix it.
But that's a different story, I'm talking about siding and
Yeah.
changing the, you know,
Well, that's what I think I would say, is at this point
I mean,
now,
a roof is a little different.
siding's not an emergency.
That's right.
And I think we should be more clear that even stuff that is a repair, as long as we can commit to meeting,
Right.
Monthly, we can
Okay.
do that. And I think what I wanted to ask John about and better understand is what is the limit that triggers a building permit? You know, like, and you asked about that other house that they basically repaired the siding on the front, but they
Yeah.
basically DIY'd it, so there was no permit. Were they required to get a permit? I don't know, because if they don't get a permit, unless we're going and policing the district, we have no idea what's going on.
But you know, if they had to come before, if they're in the historical district and they wanted to do anything, if they had to come before it, it would give us an opportunity to ask them questions.
The question is, who is enforcing that? And it may need to be us, or we may need to, I mean, I think it'd be helpful to just say, hey, this thing is happening, we may need to send some letters.
Mhm.
Well, I think, couldn't the plan, couldn't the,
Where, do we even have an address for the owner of that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
couldn't the building department say that you're within the historical district and you?
they do. The problem is if they try and do work without a permit, and the building inspector doesn't know about it because he's not going around looking at every property.
And in
in
this
town.
case, and in this
That's what I wanted
specific
to know,
scenario, they.
This one, they had a
weren't
permit.
truthful.
They
about
wasn't
what they were
super
doing.
clear, and maybe we weren't super clear, and like I said.
I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah,
It'd be nice to talk to, like Rich was just saying, the material that was on the
Yeah.
front of that house was a historic material that was removed and replaced with all with vinyl.
and when they buy a house in the historical district, they know that,
Mhm.
so.
So.
I mean, if somebody wanted to draft a letter that we can send them and cite the bylaw, we can ask them to come to the meeting.
I think that'd be a good idea,
We need to allow a lot of.
before they sell So why should the seller have to be?
Yeah. I mean, that's fine.
So I think it would be good to send that letter,
Do you want me to send it to the real estate agent too?
it'd be good to send that letter now before it's sold,
Yeah,
to have it on record,
like you.
that there's an issue,
Yeah,
whatever that
You're
issue
probably
may
better
be.
to draft the letter.
yeah.
I mean, you don't know what to
All
say.
right. I'll send it to you for
You're in that
review.
business, so you know better what to say.
So, you know, that
What is the
situation,
specific number within the,
20,
yeah,
we may need to have a conversation with Karis, town council, if we need, you know,
if we are gonna do
if
that.
we're actually gonna.
But I still think that like, maybe we'll send John Erickson a message, just like, hey, these people did something, what is?
It'd be helpful, I think it'd be helpful just to sit and talk with him and understand, you know, what is he looking at, what is he not looking at,
You
you
know,
know.
I think it would be good to have him understand
his
our
perspective.
perspective on it.
Yeah.
yeah, like what is his role in that too, because I feel
Right.
like he should know about all the different, you know,
Hmm,
So we could do that earlier in time,
So
in
maybe we should-
scheduling, but I don't.
Yeah.
The
tough thing is that like this house is for sale, it's cute, it's gonna sell quick, so to be able to get it and ding it before it goes is a challenge.
I mean,
Anywho, discuss application.
unfortunately, I have to,
Yeah,
so I think, I don't know if there's.
I think honestly, I think we pretty much touched on everything. I don't think there really is any old business that we need to touch on. I think we just kind of did that, so if you wanna, before you run, do you wanna make a motion to end the meeting?
Yeah, unless there's something else.
My motion to end this
I would make a
we
motion.
should make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay,
All in
all
favor?
those in favor?
All right.
Aye.